going to share this video with you guys. Hold on a second. All right, cool. So we're going to get this information out there. I started a stream, and there were a bunch of people that were on my stream, and nobody was smashing the like button. And therefore, I knew they just came for information, and they didn't want to give any credit to the person who was dissecting the information. And I will not have that on my stream. So I'm going to come back and do this stream. People can watch it later, whatever. I don't care. But I'm going to present some information of why restore the Snyderverse. We're going to present information concerning Warner Brothers Discovery and several other things. So stay tuned for that, including Palestine. Now, let me start off with this information I was sharing before. So I'm going to continue where I last left off. The first thing I'm going to look at is Warner Brothers Discovery and its history via macro trends over the last 19 years. Okay, their stock price history. It's very important. All right, so this was the information I was sharing on macro trends here, and it was worth noting one very important point, okay, in this information that I was providing, which is that the all-time high that Warner Brothers Discovery ever had, which is here, which is $77.27 a share, was on March 19, 2021, which was when Zack Snyder's Justice League was released the day before. Now, the stock price only started to fall after Ann Sarnoff's announcement that Zack Snyder's Justice League would not be continued. There will be no sequels, okay? Now, I want to put this in perspective so you guys will understand what I'm talking about. So this here, if you look, is the 19-year history of Warner Brothers and the trends in terms of stock price, okay, per year. The peak is here is where Zack Snyder's Justice League actually came out. And it was rising. If I were to expand this a bit, I probably can't expand it right now. It started rising at the end of 2020. Okay. Now, another very interesting thing here is that before 2010, Warner Bros. Was struggling because they didn't have a franchise. They didn't have a DC franchise that actually produced a universe. With Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight, which finished in 2012, Warner Bros. Was picking back up and going up. I mean, they created the first billion-dollar comic book movie, which was The Dark Knight. And so it was picking up, but it really reached a pinnacle or a peak somewhere around 2013. This was after Man of Steel. Started dropping a bit, as you can see there. In 2016, the stock price kind of rose back up, and then it started to fall again, mainly because of Warner Bros. Was sabotaging their product. In 2017, it went to an all-time low, as you can see there. And that was because of Justice League. That movie that the studio decided to have a great idea it was doing. And then it really didn't pick back up in any significant way until Zack Snyder's Justice League was announced that it would be produced by HBO Max. So that's very important to realize. And then, of course, a downward trend since then. And its current stock price, I believe, is somewhere around $10, which is when they were struggling before they had a universe franchise. So it's like they returned back to what they were, except the dollar has devalued significantly. There's inflation. So it's actually lower when you consider inflation than what was before. Okay, let's get into that's Warner Brothers. Okay, let's look at another thing. Again, if you guys are here, don't come watching my video if you don't intend to smash the like button. Start smashing the like button, and I'll engage you. But I don't like that people come in and just watch my content and they don't acknowledge what I'm doing. Okay? If you're coming through here, smash the like button or right out. Just go your way. All right, so I'm continuing onwards anyway. I have to take off the thing so I can get it better. All right, that was with respect to Warner Brothers. And I have some more information for you guys, and it has to do with Warner Brothers once again. Now, what people don't know is a company has a net worth, okay? And Warner Brothers' net worth currently is at $25.9 billion, okay? Now, if we look at its net worth through the years, this is another interesting thing that has happened. So, at one point in time, people don't know this, but Warner Brothers' net worth was almost below $5 a share. So people didn't know that. And I'm going to show you the data that has to show with the data trends. And its network peaked in 2021. Again, March, I believe it was March. Hold on. Yep. So in March 19th of 2024, its network peaked to above $45 million a share. 41.6 billion dollars a share. And that date was March the 18th, March the 19th, sorry, my bad. Hold on a second here. It's March 19th, 2021. Its shares peaked at $45.2 billion a share. Okay? And then it tumbled down after Ann Sarnoff did her shit. And apparently in the turnover of Warner Brothers Discovery, when they fully turned over, it jumped up to all-time high $57.2 billion. And it's never been higher since then. After that, it dropped very rapidly in 2022, and it was on a tumble. It went to all-time low $27.5 billion. It spiked, and it spiked upwards to a little bit over $35 billion in June of 2023. I believe that's when Dune and those things were coming out. And then it has tumbled since then, and it's now at $26 billion. That's where it is. And let me show you the data trend here so you can see it. So that's the data trend, okay? So that is for Warner Brothers. Now, why I'm putting this out is because you guys need to understand Warner Brothers is actually on a decline. They're on a steep decline, very steep decline, actually. If you look at the period between, if you look at the period, I'm trying to get my hands in the right position. If you look at the period between 2021 here, or better yet, 2022 to 2024, it's been a steep decline, if you notice. Okay? Now, that's very important to note, because what I'm going to show you is two other companies. I'm going to show you Netflix, and I'm also going to show you Comcast. Okay? And we're going to look at their net worths, and we're also going to look at their stocks and how they've been doing over sometimes a longer period of time, sometimes a shorter period of time. Okay? So that's what we're going to look at next. And you're going to see how much Warner Brothers is not doing well at all. Okay, so here is, first of all, one of the things I wanted to just show you guys is the list of movies that Warner Brothers has put out. Now, you have to understand, Warner Brothers is a filmmaking company, yes, even a TV company, but mostly filmmaking company. But they put out their films primarily in cinemas. Okay? There's a stark difference between the model that Warner Brothers Discovery uses and what Netflix uses. So that's a very critical thing you need to understand. All right. So what we look at for success and where Warner Brothers' major revenue when it comes to movies comes from. Hold on a second. I have to just take a break and come back. Okay. Hold on 1 second. 1 second. I'm sorry about this, but I have to do it like this. Okay. So I'm back. Right. So Warner Brothers' major revenue streams, their major money comes from movies, from big tentpole movies. Okay. So if you look here at the list of Warner Brothers films, this is where they made their money. This is where they made their major money from. Okay. The problem with that is, and I don't want to go from 2020 to 2029. I'll just do where Warner Brothers Discovery came on the stream. We're gonna look at. Let's look from. What is amazing to me. I'll show you guys something. So on March 18th of 2021, Zack Snyder's Justice League came out. Okay, this movie. Now the thing that's amazing is that's when Warner Brothers stock peaked. What's amazing about that is the stock peaked and this movie never saw theaters. Let me say that again. Warner Brothers stock was strongest by a movie that never saw theaters. The whole idea that the movie would even come into existence, which was historic, filled people with such anticipation for it that the stock price and value of Warner Brothers stock rose to an all-time high. Note the date, March 8th, 2021. On March 18th, 2021. On March 19th, Warner Brothers stock was at an all-time high, and Warner Brothers, the company's value as well. Hold on a second, let me just get to that. Let me go back and show you guys this. This is very important to understand. The company's net worth was also at an all-time high. Well, one of the all-time highs. It's actually highest here, but this was when the deal for the merger was sealed. But here, it's at almost an all-time high of $45.2 billion. It's the second highest it's ever been. Okay? That's a very important point for a lot of people to understand, which a lot of people miss. Not only was the stock at an all-time high, but the value of the company, its net worth, was at the second highest it ever has been in its history. By a movie, mind you, a movie that never saw cinemas. I want you to remember what I just said. It has a limited release in cinemas, but it never really saw cinemas. The anticipation for that movie is crazy. And why that's important? Because we're going to talk about Netflix now. And Netflix model is different to Warner Brothers. But first, I just wanted to hold the point that Warner Brothers, their major money, the way how they got their money and how they build themselves is off of theatrical releases. Big blockbusters, of which they have not had a really good big blockbuster in a long time. When I say a long time, I mean a long time. The last big blockbuster Warner Brothers had, big blockbuster, was Joker. That was in 2019. We are in 2024, 5 years since then. All right, I'm gonna show you guys some more stuff. So you guys know the rest of it. There's a lot of flops here. So The Color Purple has flopped. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom flopped. Wonka actually was a success. A great success, because I think it was $100 million movie, made $500 and something million, which is really good. Saltburn was a flop. The Nun 3 was successful. Bottoms was a flop. Blue Beetles was a flop. Megan the Tramp was successful, so 2023 was a pretty good year for them. Barbie was very successful. The Flash was a flop. Evil Dead Rise was successful. Ear, which actually is joint with Amazon and with Warner Brothers internationally was a success. Shazam! Fury of the Gods was a failure. Creed 3 was a success. Well, 2023 was a mixed year for them. But coming down to the end of the year particularly, they've had lots of losses. So the year started off good. In 2024, their first release will be Dune Part 2. Then they have Godzilla by Kong, The New Empire, which may do well. May do well. Furiosa, which is a Mad Max saga. The Watchers, Horizon American Sniper, they got American Saga. Twisters, Trap, Horizon American Saga 2, Beetlejuice 2. Joker is also coming out this year. Fully, they do. Alto Knights, Red One, and so on. Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim. But they're trying to basically do reboots of things. They have no original ideas. And that's sad because really and truly, I don't know how successful they'll be this year. I think Dune Part 2 might do well, but other than that, I don't really see anything. And they have absolutely, in 2024, they have absolutely no DC movies. I think there's only Joker, and that's the only DC movie they'll have. I see Dune probably doing pretty good, but I don't know about the rest of the stuff, to be honest with you. So that's what it is. They feed off of blockbusters. That's the bottom line. Let's get to Netflix. Now, Netflix has a different model, okay? Netflix is based on subscribers, on subscriptions, okay? Its value is based on how many people actually subscribe to it. So, first of all, let's talk about the all-time high that Netflix had. In November 17th of 2021, Netflix stock was at a record high of $691 per share, $692, approximately $692 a share, which is right here. Okay? As of January 26, 2024, their share price is $570 a share, whereas Warner Brothers is $10 a share. Okay, then. Now, let's go to the general trends about them, because this is very important to understand. First of all, if you look at the general trend for Netflix, it's constantly going up. There was a dip in I guess that would be 2022. There was a dip a little bit, but then it climbs. It's constantly climbing. Okay? Right. Now, let's look. Of course, they had a record high in COVID because a lot of people stayed home to watch movies. Okay? Now, you have to understand that Netflix only came on the scene somewhere around, it really started to become, it was around since the 90s, but it really became effective somewhere at around 2015. So if you look here, the trend really starts to climb somewhere around 2015, and it starts going up, and it basically is at an upward trend for a very long time. And it peaked in 2021. It dropped rapidly for a bit that year, and then it's starting to climb back up again. Because Netflix has a tremendous library of movies, present, past, and future. So that's how it builds its subscribers. It outdoes every other platform out there, whether it's streaming or whether it's movie content. It outdoes every other platform because it has so much content on it. So it has a tremendous library of movies, original and otherwise, and it just constantly builds on it. So there's always content there. So let me show you what its net worth looks like. So Netflix is like dwarfs Warner Brothers network. Okay, Warner Brothers network, remember, is 25 billion. Netflix network is 249.7 or $250 billion. Let me say that again. $250 billion, because it is working off a different model. It is not working off of blockbusters and the money and revenue earned from putting out a movie in a cinema, which is becoming an archaic concept. It is based on tremendous variety of content and therefore subscriptions by viewers. Its subscriptions in the last year went up by, I'm going to tell you in a minute, I have that somewhere. Yes, let me tell you one time. It's subscribers. So it it increased. Okay, its subscribers increased last year by, it had 13 million subscribers. It had 13 million subscribers. It increased in subscriptions. So it has currently 247 million subscribers. Netflix is the premier streaming service. Nothing comes close to Netflix. It had 247 million subscribers. And that's what makes Netflix make so much money. Okay, here's its network now. Let me give you its network. So its network, as I said before, is $250 billion. Okay, that's its current net worth as of January 26, 2024, which was 2 days ago. And here is the trends. Again, it follows the stock value. So it's an upward trend, more or less. It dropped in 2022, but then it's climbed right back up, and it's up in the sky again in 2024. Okay, it had a record high net worth of over $300 million. That was back in the COVID, or a little bit after. Well, yeah, it was in the COVID. So coming out of the COVID, it kind of dropped a bit, and now it's normalizing again, and it's going up and up and up, and it's because of the content. Netflix, like I said before, deals with subscribers. That's what drives Netflix. That's where the revenue comes from. Whereas with Warner Brothers Discovery, what drives them is the movies in the theater and people going to see them, which is becoming an archaic model, unfortunately. And it's accelerated by the fact that the content that is being seen in movies now and in cinema is of a substandard quality. Whereas Netflix has such greater variety and stuff that you wouldn't even see in the cinema, or it's too risky to put in the theater because, you know, the commercialization and the formulization, the formulaic way with very little substance of movies is what's happening in the theaters now. And so Netflix is kind of taking over where movies used to be, and people can see it in the convenience of home or wherever they want to see it. Okay, let's look at Comcast. Comcast, which is also known as Universal. Comcast in 2021, again, they had record highs of $57.82 per stock price. But I wanted to show you what Comcast and how Universal, which is Universal Pictures, which is possibly a place where Restore the Snyderverse can be, because some of you guys, you're not even following what I'm saying, which is sad because you're not very smart, but it is what it is. Comcast also has had a similar trend like Netflix, right? It peaked somewhere in 2021 and it kind of dropped off, and now it's picking back up, just like Netflix. The only service which is not picking back up but is dropping right now is Warner Brothers Discovery. When you look at Universal, Comcast, when you look at Netflix, it's picking up. And so the downward trend by Warner Brothers Discovery is not surprising to me because their content is not very good. And the DC brand is just pulling them down. Whereas when you look at Netflix or you look at Comcast, Netflix is a different model altogether. But Comcast is even also having a similar trend to Netflix. They've been on the rise since 2010, since 2015. And they peaked a little bit and then they dropped and then they're coming back up again. That's not happening with Warner Brothers Discovery. Okay? And it's because, again, content. Now, again, Universal has had some great movies last year. They generally don't have flops. You know, Universal and Comcast have had one or two flops, but they're not having the kind of flops that Warner Brothers have been having. Warner Brothers have been just flopping. Movies have been flopping left, right, and center. Whereas with Universal, Comcast, they've been more measured in how they put out their movies, one, and they've been putting out more better quality movies. So they are not fading. Cinema is not fading as fast with them as it is rapidly fading with Warner Brothers Discovery. And this is very important to understand in the context of restore the Snyderverse, particularly in the context of Warner Brothers Discovery, because when we look at what was really increasing the value of Warner Brothers Discovery's stock and their overall value as a company, you would see it had to do with the Snyderverse. It had to do with Zack Snyder's Justice League. Okay? This is important to understand. It's not a coincidence that this happened. And whereas with Comcast and with Netflix, I'm going to show you also how Rebel Moon plays into this and how Rebel Moon has contributed to Netflix. Well, we know that we had like 13 million new subscribers to Netflix over the last quarter. And some of that's attributed to Rebel Moon, and Netflix even acknowledges that. And this shows you the effect that Zack Snyder actually has financially on institutions. When he was there, as you know, the trend was moving upwards with Man of Steel. It started to drop a bit, and then it rose back up with BVS and the year of BVS, 2016 BVS, Suicide Squad, you know, Wonder Woman. It was all peaking. It was all going up this way. Both the value of Warner Bros. Discovery and the stock price. And then you saw this tremendous drop when, you know, these charlatans went and sabotaged Zack Snyder's work. So all I'm saying is that economically speaking, financially speaking, which is the bottom line for these companies, when we talk about the company, we're not talking about individual people profiting from the company, but companies suffered as a result of the Snyderverse not being restored. That's the bottom line I'm getting to. You look at the baseline, you compare it to another company like Comcast, which is another company that produces Universal. And you see Universal is in an upward trend right now. And because there is no Snyderverse, there's a downward trend towards Warner Brothers. Because these are tent pools. The biggest money earners for Warner Brothers of late has been DC. DC has been where Warner Brothers made most of its money. Whether it would be Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, whether it was Batman v Superman, whether it was because their other money earners, whether it was Joker, which made $1 billion, or Aquaman, DC was the major money-making film industry for Warner Brothers Pictures. Okay? What happened is DC stopped functioning as that. And now they were scampering about, Warner Bros. Was scampering about for original material that could replace that. They got it with Barbie, but that's a one-time hit or miss. That's probably not going to happen again. There's no other films outside of comic book movies that generate that kind of revenue, except the Harry Potter movies. They used to do it. So they're trying to go back to Lord of the Rings to see if they could generate some of that revenue. And they're probably going to try and exploit the Harry Potter movies, and they're going to find out that majorly fails. Just like The Color Purple majorly fails, that will fail as well. And I know that the two people there that came from Lionsgate, I forgot what their names are, Max DeLuca and Pam Abdi, they're about original programming as well. But if you're going to be doing remakes of movies, like you're trying to do, you know, ride the coattails of Lord of the Rings, and you're trying to ride the coattails of the Harry Potter movies, you're going to fail. They're going to fail. And that's why the downward spiral that's happening with Warner Brothers. They have no ideas. They're idealess. They don't know where to go. And that's what's going to destroy them. With respect to Universal has been pushing the frontiers. Yes, they've had some rehashed movies, but they've basically been bringing out more original content. And the original content has been doing well for them. With respect to Netflix only has a whole ton of original content. I've been exploring it. You know, I told you guys about Family Switch. I watched The Heart of Stone. I watched all these original movies, really cool movies. And by the way, the guy who Was in Army of Thieves, was in both Family Switch, and he was also in Heart of Stone, I think. Yep, he was in Heart of Stone, and he was also in Army of Thieves. And he was also in Army of the Dead. So it's very interesting that he was in all those movies. I forgot what his name is. If you guys know his name, you can put it in the chat. But what's cool about this is when I look at all these movies and all the variety and the animation and everything, there's no restriction. And I think people love Netflix for that. And that's why it's a tremendous subscriber base. Disney, none of them can compete with Netflix right now. Paramount Plus, Disney, Amazon Prime, they can't. So what is happening is that Netflix is just consuming, and then of course Netflix can do reruns, it can do old programming, it can bring it back, old stuff. So Netflix really has a lot more flexibility to it. Having said that, Comcast is also very good if you want to still do things in cinemas. If Netflix even puts out for limited release movies in cinemas and stuff like that. But that's not where they make their major money. They make their major money off of subscriptions. They make their major money off of subscriptions, not views, but subscriptions. Now, the views indicate that people have interest, and that interest could be used to pull in subscribers because people will talk, they will share, etc. So that's what Netflix is doing. That's how they make their money. With Comcast has been putting out some quality products over the last couple of years. They've been coming back to the fore. They do want to buy out Warner Brothers Discovery. But let me just show you guys a little bit more information here that you guys need to know. So you see that is an upward trend with Comcast. Okay, now, and did I go to net worth? Let me see here. Yeah, net worth. So Comcast net worth is $186.2 billion, which is, it's like several times more than Warner Brothers. All right. And it just shows you once again that these people who are managing this company, Comcast, are doing a way better job, Universal Comcast particularly, than Warner Brothers is doing. They're mismanaging it. People are getting fat wallets, off of the companies individually and personally. They're doing well, even off of flops. But the company itself is not doing well. And, Warner Brothers Discovery is going to be out of existence very soon if it's not bought up by somebody else, because it's doing miserably, terribly. It's doing horribly. It should have a value of somewhere around $45 to $50 million like Comcast. It's nowhere near there. And this is what Comcast's value looks like. Again, it follows the trend of values that you normally see with a company that's actually growing and expanding. It'll drop a little bit, but then it rises. Okay, so I gave you the statistics with respect to consumers. Consumers spend about 3.2 hours every day consuming content from Netflix. And Netflix has TV shows plus movies and all of that. So it really covers all bases. It's really tremendous. Let me just go into something very quickly. The ICJ's ruling on Israel's genocide case, showing that it is a case for a ceasefire. Now, some people are saying that just because the ICJ didn't say, let there be a ceasefire, means that they don't support a ceasefire, they're afraid of it. No, but in essence, they were basically saying that. They were basically saying that Israel's not to kill civilians at all, that Israel should not be occupying any space there, that Israel needs to allow humanitarian aid into the country freely to deal with the humanitarian crisis, that Israel should not be indiscriminately bombing civilians, and several other measures which, including hostage negotiations, which are all rulings from the ICJ. Now, some people say, well, the United States and certain European countries may not listen to the ICJ or ignore them. Well, that's not a problem, because it's the international community to respond, and the international community can just simply start doing trade embargoes and sanctions against those countries that do not recognize or do not respect the ICJ's ruling. That's all that has to happen to it. And whether diplomatically they want to affect the diplomats at that meeting, those diplomats are also accountable to the people. And one way or the other, they're going to get assassinated. So you could either be assassinated by your own people, or you can be assassinated by career assassination, that is, by the lobby, the Israeli lobby that influences America and European people, and talking about anti-Semitic nonsense. People have to grow balls, and you got to understand, if they get rid of you, you'll be replaced by somebody else who will have your stand anyway, because the people, you can't resist the people, and the power is in the people. So the ICJ's ruling effectively saying that there needs to be a ceasefire. So if people don't realize that, that's what it is. And we push for the ceasefire. With respect to the two movements, restore the Snyderverse and Free Palestine, those two movements. First of all, there are active things you can do as a person for these movements. First of all, let me just talk about the first set of things that I think you should do. We're going into 36 minutes. It is what it is. The first thing you need to do when you're talking about restore the Snyderverse, just like with the BDS movement, is what you're already doing, which is do not support anything of Warner Brothers Discovery. Just don't. Nothing. You're not interested in it. You're not interested in the content. Now, some of you are going to say, well, I want to see the Joker movie. No, don't do it. I'm going to tell you why. You have to have a principle. You're not supporting those things because what the company is doing presently is not right. It is wrong. Okay? It's ethically wrong what they're doing. They're saying the consumer is stupid. We're going to flash and dangle this thing in front of them, and they're going to respond. All right? So you have to take a stand that no. First of all, what you did was wrong in terms of closing down the Snyderverse. You're destroying your company. And on top of that, where you think you have great ideas, we're not going to support them. We're going to take a stand against that. You need to listen to the people who are telling you or helping you to understand what they like. What is your market? And if you do not want to listen to the market will shut you down. That's what we have to do. So that's like BDS. Israel is flagrantly disrespecting the international law. So BDS now economically starts targeting them and starts shutting them down. BDS by itself will not work. It's BDS in combination with the legal matters that have just been passed by the ICJ, with the international pressure by the populace of the world, which is dissenting against this, whether diplomats want to pussyfoot around it or not. The population is blatant about it. There are certain governments which are blatantly speaking about this issue and making sure to denounce it. South Africa leading the charge, but there's several other nations. They're not making news because mainstream media doesn't want you to know. And also, in addition to all of these things, there's the resistance on the ground by Hamas, by the Houthis, by the resistance in Lebanon, as well as in Syria. And of course, they talk about Iran. Iran really doesn't really have a lot to do with the resistance, as a lot of people trying to say. Iran has helped to sort of launch some of the resistance in these organizations, but they really don't have a personal hand in those things. So, America's really desperately trying to link Iran to these things, which is stupid. These people are taking their own initiatives, and they're supporting in solidarity with the Gazans and the Palestinians who are being oppressed. And it has to come to an end. So that's what we're looking at. Flagrant disregard by the criminal known as Netanyahu really won't change the situation. He's a dead man walking. He doesn't realize it yet. And so we just have to keep the heat on, keep on exposing them, keep on letting the world never forget what they said, never forget what they did. And we're going to make this into another remembrance of the Holocaust. This time it's not going to be for the Jews, it's going to be for the Palestinians, some of whom are Semites themselves. So it's been very anti-Semitic what the Israeli government and the IDF has done, and it's very criminal, and these people will be brought to justice in this life or the next. No one with a conscience is going to look at what Israel is doing and not say it's not genocide. It is genocide. And you can go through the technicalities and the legalities behind it. It is genocide. That is what it is. It doesn't have to take them a million years to realize that. And for these people to flagrantly flag genocide in our faces, I don't care if it's America, I don't care who it is, to flag genocide in our faces, and then we must, agree that it's not genocide. Get the hell out of here. Fire Biden, get rid of him, and get rid of Netanyahu and his whole entire right-wing and oppressive regime, and that stupid woman, settler woman, and get rid of all of them, put them in prison, because that's where they're going to end up. And the international community needs to have no mercy on them, none whatsoever. The international community needs to make sure that these people are clamped down. As to AIPAC in the United States of America, AIPAC needs to get shut down. And to do that is very simple. All companies that are taking funding from AIPAC, you boycott. Boycott them. Any officials who are receiving AIPAC money, it is time for you not to vote for those officials. I don't care who they are. Do not vote for them. We are not going to support people who support an organization that promotes genocide. So that's the way how we go. We're going to use our powers that way. Just like how we use our powers to restore the Snyderverse that way. Okay? You don't want our money? We go elsewhere. Okay? And we put pressure on Puma, and Puma has actually stopped funding the Israeli teams. We put pressure on McDonald's, and McDonald's will fall soon. And not just McDonald's, Burger King, all those food joints, and all those Starbucks and all of them, because Starbucks is still associated with Israel. Okay, even though they said they're not, they're still unofficially still doing those things and supporting Israel, because they're Israeli people who actually funded them. So you have to understand all of this is going on, and we have to continue to put the heat on these people. If there's any questionable company out there that somebody says allegations is near to Israel, do your homework, do your research, dig deep. If you find a connection, disassociate yourself with them. The next step is for big companies to pull out of business doing with Israel, which we're getting with boycott and divestment. We need to inform those businesses. And then after that, sanctions will come. And then after the sanctions, it will be physical action needs to be taken by a corporate body, not just regional bodies like the Arabs, which, again, the Arabs need to be sending special forces to Gaza and to Palestine, and special forces need to be there. Also, the UN or the United Nations presence, military presence needs to be there in the peacekeeping force. Israel must not be allowed to use the skies to bomb people, because that is genocidal. It's also indiscriminate bombing. That must not be allowed. Israel is taking out its frustration on the population while its ass is being kicked by Hamas on the ground. Hamas has been kicking their ass, okay? They're bullies when it comes to people who can't defend themselves, but when it comes to people who can defend themselves like Hamas and like Hezbollah, all of a sudden, they're getting their asses kicked, okay? They got kicked, their asses kicked by Hezbollah, they got their asses kicked by Egypt, they got their asses, they're getting their asses kicked by Hamas right now. And their military leaders are acknowledging that. Okay, and they're going to continue to get their asses kicked because they're bullies. They will attack the defenseless and the powerless. They're not like the Nazis in that respect. The Nazis could fight. These guys can't. So, if they keep it up, there will be no Israel. I'm guaranteeing you that. And America can't stop it, because those surrounding nations will take them out. We'll take them out. And that'll be that. So if they keep this nonsense up, provoking the nations around them, all the nations will come together as one, including the Saudis, who have already rejected the naturalization of Israel, thrown that in the garbage. So you know what's about to go down. And I'm telling you right now, the Middle East will band together as one, and they will attack any colonial imperial power trying to create influence in the Middle East. They're going to do it. And then they'll side with Russia and China, and they will fight on their own. And the Russians and the Chinese know already they don't have to get involved in that. The Middle Eastern countries will eliminate Israel from off the globe if that's what they want to happen, because you can dish it out. Can you take it? Can you take it? I'm just saying. We can see the imperial system crumbling. We can see the colonial system crumbling. As Mostaf said, or Yassim Bey, as he said, all empires come and go. The greatest of so-called empires came and left. And there's no difference with this one. So we have to, as people, love other people and be as grounded as possible with other people. That's what I suggest to you guys. Anyways, there's grounds for Restore the Snyderverse. It may be on Netflix. It may be on Comcast. It may even be on Warner Brothers. If Comcast buys Warner Brothers or Netflix buys Warner Brothers, whatever. But ultimately, in the end, Warner Brothers is going down. Their ship that's sailed. James Gunn has no ideas. He's talking to himself online on Twitter. It's destined for failure. So we're just gonna have to wait till it fails, or until Warner Brothers gets some sense in their head and decides, can the other stupid ideas they have, and allow Zack Snyder to work there, which I don't think will be very likely. I think that ship also has sailed. So we, as the Restore the Snyderverse group, we have the job of boycotting and divesting and sanctioning Warner Brothers. At the same time, we also have the job of promoting, encouraging, the Snyderverse to happen, whether it's on Netflix, Comcast, or elsewhere. That's what I got for you guys. I am Christiam Disciple. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was 47 minutes long. This is the longest video I've had, but I thought it was worth it. For you guys in the community, in the Snyderverse community, keep on pushing. Much love to all of you guys. I'm going to catch you guys later. I am Christiam Disciple. Peace.